Hey everyone. Before we get into tonight's story, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and in the comments, let me know what city you're watching from. It helps the channel more than you know, and it makes sure you don't miss what's coming next. All right, let's begin. They say 10 years in a big city ER will show you everything. Every way a human body can break, bleed, and betray itself. I believe that. For 10 years, I was Dr. Evans, a senior attending at LA County General. I'd seen gunshot wounds, car wrecks that looked like abstract art, the hollow eyes of an overdose. I thought I was hardened to it all. I thought I understood the boundaries of life and death. Then came the night of the storm, the night they brought in a man who shouldn't have been alive. That's the case that forced me to hang up my scrubs for good, because it wasn't a medical case. It was something else entirely. The rain was coming down in sheets, that thick, relentless California winter drizzle that makes the freeway slick and the city feel like it's drowning. We were slammed. A multi-car pileup on the 101 had turned the ER into organized chaos. Every bed was full, the air thick with the smell of antiseptic and desperation. Around 3 a.m., the paramedics radioed in. "Dispatch, we're 5 minutes out with the John Doe, pulled from the LA River Canal near the bridge. Appears to be a submersion victim. Severe hypothermia, unresponsive." Another tragedy on a Tuesday night. We prepped Trauma Bay 3, the usual drill. Warming blankets, crash cart, IV fluids ready to go. When they wheeled him in, the first thing that struck me was the silence that followed him. The chaos of the ER just seemed to pause. He was a man in his 30s, pale skin with the bluish tint that screamed hypothermia. But it was his clothes that were wrong. He wore a simple, dark gray sweatshirt and black pants. No logos, no brands. The paramedics had cut his shoes off, but even the remnants had no identifiable marks. Every tag had been meticulously removed. It was as if he was wearing a costume designed to look like a person, but without any of the details. "Vitals?" I asked, snapping on my gloves. The paramedic, a guy named Rick I'd known for years, shook his head. "That's the weird part, Doc. His core temp on scene was 84 degrees. Should be in cardiac arrest. But his pulse is steady at 60. And his BP is 110/70. It makes no sense." It didn't. An 84-degree core temperature is a death sentence. The heart's electrical signals just stop. Yet, the monitor beeped with a rhythm that was impossibly, perfectly stable. I started my assessment. I listened to his lungs, expecting to hear the telltale crackle of water aspiration. Nothing. They were crystal clear. I checked his hands and feet for pruning, the wrinkled skin that comes from being submerged. Again, nothing. His skin was smooth, cold, and flawless. "How long was he in the water?" I asked Rick. A jogger saw him go in, said he was under for at least 10 minutes before she could get help. We pulled him out 20 minutes ago. 10 minutes underwater? A core temp of 84 degrees? And yet, clinically, he was more stable than half the patients in my ER. The puzzle pieces weren't just mismatched, they were from a completely different box. We worked on him for an hour, pushing warm saline, wrapping him in the Bear Hugger warming system. His temperature rose at a rate I'd never seen. It wasn't just fast, it was unnatural, as if his body was a machine recalibrating itself. And then he opened his eyes. There was no grogginess, no confusion, just a sudden sharp awareness. His eyes were a startlingly pale blue, and they locked onto mine with an intelligence that felt ancient. He wasn't a patient waking up. He was an observer taking in his surroundings. Sir, can you hear me? I said, leaning in. You're in the hospital. You had an accident. He didn't speak. He just watched me. His gaze was so intense, it felt like a physical pressure. He slowly scanned the room, the monitors, the IV bags, the nurses, not with fear, but with a quiet, analytical curiosity. Can you tell me your name? I tried again. Silence. But this time, the corner of his mouth twitched into the faintest hint of a smile. It was a smile of amusement, and it sent a chill down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold rain outside. I ordered a full battery of tests, CT scans, toxicology, a complete blood panel. While we waited, I decided to admit him to the ICU for observation. Something was profoundly wrong here, and I couldn't put my finger on it. As the nurse was prepping him for transport, he finally spoke. His voice was calm, clear, and without a trace of the trauma he'd endured. Your daughter, he said, his pale blue eyes still fixed on me. She likes to draw horses, doesn't she? My blood ran cold. My daughter, Maya, was 8 years old. Her room was covered in her drawings of horses. It was her private little world, something I'd never discussed with anyone at the hospital. How do you know that? I stammered, my professional composure shattering. His smile widened slightly. There are currents deeper than water, doctor. You've spent so long looking at the surface, you've forgotten about the things that live in the dark. He sat up, swinging his legs over the side of the gurney with effortless grace. The heart monitor didn't even flicker. I think I'm ready to leave now, he said, standing up. He was wearing nothing but a hospital gown, yet he stood with an unnerving confidence. You can't leave, I said, my voice shaking. You need to be monitored. We don't even know who you are. He took a step toward me. You're right, you don't. His eyes seemed to glow for a moment under the harsh fluorescent lights. And for your own sake, you should hope you never find out. Your daughter's drawings are quite good. It would be a shame if she stopped. He turned and walked calmly out of the trauma bay. For a moment, everyone was frozen. I yelled for security, but it was too late. We searched the entire floor, then the whole hospital. He was gone. The security cameras on that entire wing had malfunctioned. A 10-minute block of static right when he would have walked out. His clothes, which we'd place in a biohazard bag, were also gone from the storage room. All the lab results came back perfectly normal. The blood work of a healthy man. It was as if John Doe had never existed. I resigned a week later. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't look at a patient without thinking of him. I couldn't practice medicine in a world where the rules of science and biology could be so casually broken by a man with pale blue eyes and a quiet smile. I work in a small private clinic now, hundreds of miles from Los Angeles. I treat colds and set simple fractures. It's predictable. It's safe. But every time it rains, I think about that night. I think about the currents deeper than water and the things that live in the dark. And I double-check the locks on my daughter's bedroom door because I know, with a certainty that chills me to my very soul, that what I treated that night wasn't human.